Welcome to Impact Moments powered by 90. Today we're joined by David Bowman. David has a really rich background. He spent his early career 10 years in the Marine Corps as a helicopter crew chief before finding his way into organizational development, consulting, and eventually EOS. He spent the last decade, along with being an EOS implementer, actually figuring out how implementers can do business development better without really losing themselves in it. And so his answer is ETAN, the EOS Trusted Advisor Network. We'll link to these things in the show notes. But the 10X Connect has also been, along with ETAN, a way that helps EOS implementers build groups around the country that really support entrepreneurs and network together. So really interesting conversation with David. He reframes networking, introductions, the idea of living your EOS life, and he also shares an impact moment that still makes him tear up to this day. So let's get into it. Welcome to Impact Moments, powered by 90. I'm Christine.
I'm Kris Snyder.
I'm David Bowman.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got your start.
Yeah, so grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. Parents were both entrepreneurs. Terrible student. Went in the Marine Corps for 10 years. Got a dual degree in business and accounting while I was in. Did accounting for about a year and found out it's really hard to go from being a helicopter crew chief to sitting behind a desk punching numbers. So quickly figured out that wasn't for me. And pretty much have had my whole career doing organizational development design, team-based continuous improvement, leadership development, just as a solopreneur. Went to work for clients 3 times. And so the last time, first 2 were growth. I'm kind of a visionary, so those were great. And then the last one was a manufacturing client in St. Joe, Michigan, that was a turnaround, and put my system in place, built a leadership team, took tons of cost out, couldn't get the owner to pay attention. And so brought in Jim Coyle and thought if my system wouldn't work, maybe I could get his attention doing something that wasn't me. And we do this thing called a 90-minute meeting you might have heard of, and the owner didn't show up. And so I fell in love with EOS. Jim was trying to start a firm. And so I never looked back and just figured the writing was on the wall, and he wasn't serious about turning it around.
I had one 90-minute meeting where the owner stood up like 20 minutes in, and he's like, "Yeah, I gotta go." It's like, what does that mean? He's like, "Well, whatever they decide," and just left. And I was like, "Oh, hell no."
Not no, but hell no.
And the leadership team was begging you to stay, I'm sure.
because the wheels are coming off. Like the thing's falling apart. But if they're not paying attention and they're not going to commit to it, there's no reason to do it.
Correct.
Right? You'll just, what is it, drag them in the room, drag them around the room? Yeah.
So how quickly did you make that decision? The owner doesn't show up. You're interested in what Jim's having to say. Did you kind of make the jump? Yeah.
Almost immediately. Stayed with him, helped him wind things down.
Yeah.
But I was already talking to Jim about, this was before the franchise, so firms were viable.
Yeah.
And so Jim was trying to create mastery, train people in implementation, and then provide some backroom support, and then get to viability, and then have somebody go to boot camp. So it was a requirement that you would join the community in the firm model. And we're in Michigan, right? So this is the Wild West of anybody that read Traction and was a consultant called themselves an implementer in the early days. And so to Jim's credit, it was, how do we bring them in versus, villainizing them? And so, we did that for my first 4 or 5 years. So 3 years of my 10 years in EOS were unofficial. And
nice.
Yeah.
So you're a very quick decision maker then. If you're a pilot and then you only did accounting for a year before you were like, this isn't for me, and then you immediately meet Jim and go.
Did I mention I'm a 9 quick start? I'm a thrill junkie, and risk taker, and just by nature. And slowing down a little bit as I get older, but that's my nature.
So for those that play along at home, the 9 quick starts referring to Colby.
Correct.
Right, just the Colby assessment.
Yes.
We have this moment sometimes where I'm like looking at the camera and just reminding them, because we get caught up like in saying things.
EOS speak.
EOS speak, it happens easily.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
that's so true. How long have you been doing Colby? Like, have you always known this about yourself, or was this kind of
oh
like a
no, that was Colby's just like comes down and like, oh, that explains so much.
oh yeah.
Right.
I have shot myself in the foot so many times in life, and yeah, so
Nice. So, okay, so I cut you off halfway. So you become an implementer, you're working with Jim, you become the franchise happens, you stay an implementer. So now you've been doing it 10 years?
yeah, 10 with the unofficial part and 8 since boot camp. I think it'll be 8 this August.
Nice. So
Um,
what's the biggest differences between how you work with clients now versus how you did initially? Anything?
oh, it's night and day. I mean,
Yeah.
you kind of want to go back to the early clients and apologize. It's just, if you only knew. Yeah, you just go through that stage where you got to get the reps in, and it's so rote memory. And oh, I forgot something, and watch the videos, and
Mhm.
channel your inner Peyton, so to speak. Sorry, that's a mannerism of Peyton's in the videos, and eventually you just, I had the foundation from my organizational development days, so I knew why we
Right.
were doing what we were doing, and so I think pretty quickly got to more of the principles of why it works, and once I capture that, I'm very conceptual. I'm a one. Going back to Colby, I'm a one and integrator, and so everything for me is a conceptual mental model, and so
Mhm.
once I have that in my head,
Mm,
it's pretty clear to me.
And
right.
now you have to give us all 4 numbers.
Yes.
Okay. 8, which does slow me down. I love
That's a
research.
fact finder for
That is
you.
a fact finder. 2, so I'm ready to hand it off as soon as I create it.
Mhm.
9, so I lead with quick start. So always looking for what the opportunities are, what's missing,
Mhm.
where can I add value. Um, and then 1, which is just completely, so the integrator is the, did I say that right? I
Yeah.
always get
Mhm.
Yeah.
integrator and implementer mixed up. Is more how hands-on do you have to be to understand it. So I was a helicopter crew chief, um, terrible mechanic, right? And
Yeah.
I'm a parts changer, but I knew how all the systems worked. And so as a crew chief, I was just the coordinator of all the talent around me. And that's that one jumping into it where I don't have to be the expert at turning the wrenches, but if I understand how the systems work, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many of the EOS implementers when they first get their start, you mentioned getting the reps in. It's business development that's their challenge,
Correct.
right? How did you find coming in and getting your reps in business
It
development?
was tough. I didn't, I had been in Kalamazoo for, 20 years at that point. And I had a lot of, I was in um, consulting, but people knew me in that realm. And
Hmm.
so making that switch was really difficult to, this is different and getting them to understand it. And back then, EOS had no name recognition whatsoever. And so, that was tough, and so part of what we did as Nexus is Jim, really focused on the mastery components and training implementers, to do a great job in the session, and what I did is built these, ETAN groups, that, EOS Trusted Advisor Networks, to help them get to viability in their practice so that they could then go to boot camp and join the community.
So talk a little bit about more about what an EOS trusted advisor group is for those that don't know.
Yeah, so there's it's just an amazing phenomenon that EOS companies love doing business with other EOS companies,
Mhm.
and
Hmm.
when you're doing this, you just see it right away. You drink the Kool-Aid, you speak the language,
Yeah.
and it's just a different way of viewing business. And so, trusted advisors are also target market for us. And so I came up with the idea that, hey, if we could get 10 to 12 trusted advisors running on EOS around a table, it would be unstoppable. And so I built a model based on that, and did it for Nexus for a number of years, and then did 2 breakout sessions, and then the annual conference 3 or 4 years ago at this point. And so I started training USIs on it. Um, and I was spending probably 15 to 20 hours a month helping USIs do these, and they just weren't getting them. And so I launched, be 2 year and a half ago, 10x Connect, which trains the EOSIs on how to build these networks all over the country.
Yeah, the connector piece is one of those things that I've struggled with on the EOS front because when you start, you come through boot camp, they're like, bring you a list of connectors. And my experience was similar to yours, where having been a CEO of a technology company, now I'm doing EOS implementations. So when my connectors be like, I'm sorry, what are you doing again?
Right.
And then how do I introduce you as something I don't know you for or with? And that connector part just didn't work. So what I love about the work you're doing there is you're actually adding value to the connection, right? And
Yeah.
getting the familiarity of using EOS as that platform.
Yeah, so I mean, it really boils down to how do we get out of our own way. So every implementer just loves being in the session room, and I always say if I could just get in the session room, that'd be great. And kind of my exploration with them is how do you do biz dev as though you're in the session room? How do you get as much enjoyment, much satisfaction in doing biz dev as you do helping a client? Um, and it has to do with being our authentic self. We have 800 plus, 850 very talented people all running around with their success stories.
Hmm.
And it ends up being just throw a lot of shit at the wall and activity is when you don't know what to do, you just do a lot of it. And you end up wasting a lot of time and energy and you don't feel legitimate or authentic in the way you're approaching it. And so you're just constantly in testing mode and it's exhausting. It's there's I'm starting to write a blog, so this is gonna sound um, more hoity-toity than it is, but there's a psychosocial difference between truly connecting and networking. And so we show up different. Our bodies are different.
Yeah.
Our mindsets are different in that environment. And so, how do you create this environment where um, I only want people in my group that I would invite to a family function, right? And if that's how comfortable I feel, I just come up authentically myself. And every implementer's implementation of their ETAN group is gonna look different than every other's because they're building it around who they are as a human being.
Yeah, I love that concept of connecting versus networking. You do this really well where you ask a really intentional question to like get to know somebody better instead of like a where you're from, how's the weather kind of situation. And I was recently at an API event and I met another guy who was doing the same thing. And I was like, oh man, Kris would love these questions because it was more of a man, what are you most proud of that you did over the last year? And it's like getting more into the root of who is this person and what are they excited about so we can have a real conversation about something you're passionate about.
Well, if you think about it, even what we're doing right now on this podcast is similar, right? You're
Yeah.
asking about your story, and I find that networking, people want to tell you about something, not ask you about something.
Mhm.
And if you are asking, then and you're patient and you're quiet, you can learn and you can connect versus pushing, your business card at somebody and saying, I work for so and so firm and I'm here
We
to
should
sell you something.
talk.
We should
Yeah.
talk.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
like, well, should we? Like, we should talk. I'm like, we haven't got to that place yet.
But I have a
Um,
space on my calendar I
and
need to fill.
and
Yeah.
and it I only did it a couple times because it was awful, but, at one point I was like, "Speed dating could work." Oh, no, it does not work.
It does not work.
So speed connecting does not work,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Like, this
Correct.
just do not for those listening at home, don't try that. Like,
Right.
there's a better
Right.
way to build connections.
Yeah. Yeah. And you do this naturally. I mean, I know you've created several of these groups just it's not rocket science. It's not like I'm the only one that thought of this. It's the nuance and the discipline, the consistency of
That's
it.
right.
And
Mhm.
it's why you would do EOS. It's a turnkey system for how to do biz dev differently.
Yeah.
Well, and
Mhm.
there's support that you're providing that, like, when I was trying to build mine, and I call it a trusted partner network, but it's the same, very similar principles. You've brought more process to it. You've brought more support to it versus trying to figure it out on your own. And it's kind of like you said for EOS, like, why would I go make Chris's operating system when Gina already made EOS and it
Right.
works? I'll
Right.
just go do that.
Right.
And I think that's what I like about your ETAN model is they don't have to reinvent anything. They just need to do it.
And it's really intentional. I mean, we run on 90, each of these chapters. We keep score. These are all US companies, so we hold each other accountable. They're to-dos with 90% completion rates. And, there's just a different level of ownership of it's not how many leads am I going to get, it's how many leads can I give you,
Right.
and let me walk you in. Not, hey, there's a ribbon cutting that I just read in the paper, and you probably should go meet those people. It's let's go have lunch. I think you really can solve a problem that my client's having. Uh,
Yeah, there's a I like that you're blogging about this because I think there's a big some of the I like to call them introductions of value, IOVs.
mm,
And so if I'm going to do an introduction, I want to be connected to the value that I'm introducing, not just to the person.
correct.
Right? Like I know you well enough and I believe that you do what you do well enough that I'll go there, right?
Right.
And then make that superlative statement versus this is a person,
You should
you're a
look into
person,
this.
you two
Yeah.
people should have a moment.
Right.
Like,
Good
no.
luck.
Good luck. Right. I hope that works out.
Right, right, right. At the end of the day, whenever we do an introduction, give an introduction or receive an introduction, somebody's using their relationship capital.
Yeah,
And
Right.
so if I can't make their relationship stronger because they gave me that lead, then I probably shouldn't be pursuing that.
right.
Right, and to the extent that I'll do a 90 in whoever gave the leads, the referral in their office. So if a commercial banker says, "Hey, I've got a client for you," I'll do it at the bank
Yeah.
to give the value back to them. And so that's part of the sauce of ETAN as well. Is
I had this moment where early on, I had a conversation with Gino, and he was like, here's all the companies that are not target market. Law firms, accounting firms. And what he was saying, which I didn't understand at the time, was if it's a partnership, if you're more than like two or three partners, the ability to actually make real decisions, it doesn't work. But I went out and did them all. I got an accounting firm, a law firm, and a financial services firm. But when I eventually thought about having my trusted partner network, I was like, oh shoot, I just built it.
right.
Right, because I went and coached EOS and all these different types of companies, and they do know EOS, and I know them, and so just pulled them together. I don't think that's the way to do that, by the
Mm.
way.
Yeah, it's tough when you're the implementer for the
Right,
whole
right.
group.
I think your model's better, but I think it's you don't have to have coached them, right? Like
Right.
they could be self-implementing, so they're highly EOS aware. They're gonna and they could turn into a client. You never know.
We have what we call the list of 100, and so we want part of the searching for your ETAN group is BizDev, kind of surreptitiously.
Yeah,
And so the USIs learn to um, pitch ETAN, which is just help first. I don't.
right.
It's do you, Mr. and Mrs. Trusted Advisor firm, want to do BizDev differently because we solve serious universal issues for them? And if so, then you should consider this. And while I'm pitching that, I'm introducing EOS as one of the disciplines around the table. And quite often in that list of 100, people just say, well, we need that in our firm. And then you just carve that off and that becomes a lead.
Yeah,
And so you biz dev in creating your ETAN group. Yeah,
very cool.
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Well, I want to
Mm.
get into your impact moment as
Yeah,
well. So we like to talk about a specific story or situation where a decision or something happened where you could see the ripple effect and the change that occurred. And so, do you have a impact moment you'd like to share?
yeah. So I actually shared this with Gino. And it was I love the stories because if you're as intentional as we help companies to be, the financial benefits of EOS happen pretty quickly. I
Hmm.
mean, um, it's the human impact. It's the client who, unbeknownst to me, is on the verge of getting a divorce. Husband and wife are in two different states, trying to hold it together, flying back and forth. There's no quality of life. There's no balance, and it's early in the journey that owner saying, "You gave me my life back." And I just tear up when I hear that, and it's just the most rewarding kind of experience, and now I'm getting to the point where now the entire leadership team is saying that, and they're finding, living your EOS life, and they're now coaching downstream to that, and so the impact of the human side of what this does in terms of a dirty word in business is, that people have ulterior motives.
Mhm.
It's like, no shit.
Eh, eh,
What did you think they were?
right,
They were born to serve you?
right.
Yeah.
And so,
Capitalist.
right, those damn capitalists. And so instead, it's how do I engage with you and connect with you enough that I can help you get your ulterior motives met within our company for as long as that works, be all in because you can see the path for how this is working for you as a human being and your family and your situation, not just what are you giving to the company. And when people make that connection, it's, there's check the box EOS, I
Mhm.
like to say, and then there's just really impactful EOS. And those are the moments that you just, I wouldn't do anything else.
Would you mind talking a little bit more about the EOS life? Because I think it's not, in my opinion, it's not talked about enough. And it's often thought of, it's for the entrepreneur only. And I think your statement there is that's not true.
Yeah, when that really hit home was for me. And so within the community, especially early on, it was pay your dues, be miserable for 2 years building your practice, and then you can live your EOS life. And the big aha moment for me, I had Mike Coates as a coach, which is couldn't say enough good things about him. And I got away from that do uh, have, be kind of a concept. So let's do a whole bunch of stuff. Let's get the rewards of that. And then when I have enough in the bank, I can figure out who I am and I can tell the world to go, shove it because I'm insulated and I can truly be my authentic self. And he helped me to just flip that. And so start with be, do the things that are the best expression of who you are as a human and your creativity
Mhm.
and your interest and only you can bring that value. And the more you can lean into that, the have takes care of itself. And you can almost divorce yourself from the outcomes. So we still do goal setting, but it's not around, the house or the car or the things. It's around more of the conditions of the relationships that I'm in and my kids and my grandkids and my workers and all of those types of things is really where it kicks in. But don't wait. Start living your EOS life today,
Yeah.
and then organize around that versus organizing around busyness until you can feel comfortable enough. Because that time will never happen.
Yeah.
It's always this: I'll be happy when, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy when, and you
Yep.
never get there.
The EOS life, there's like a phrase that explains it.
Yeah,
What is that?
it's 5 things. So
Okay.
you do what you love with the people you love, and this one gets an eye roll sometimes when I say with the people you love
Mhm,
because not everyone thinks about loving the leadership team that they're on or the people they work with, but yeah, the people you love. Having I like to say the word impact here too, but making a difference I think
mhm.
is what it is. And then being fairly compensated. That does not mean being overly compensated. It means fairly compensated for the work you do. And then time for other passions.
Mm,
Those are kind of the 5 principles of the EOS life. And I do when I've seen leadership teams finally, like, hear that it wasn't, "We're just trying to take care of this person. We actually want you all to have that experience."
right.
And I think that for me is that next moment. I love the fact that you're saying that we're not waiting till we're successful as a team to get there.
Right.
We should be working on it now.
Correct. Correct.
Working on it now before we think that, the company hit this plateau and everybody's good and
Yeah, we're squeamish around the word love, but it's the human condition. I mean,
right.
it's why we're here, and so why shy away from that, right? And I know that's not romantic love.
No.
It's not that definition of
I think
love.
there's
It's
caring and respect in it. It's not the romance of it, right?
correct, correct, and yeah, I think it gets perverted when you think of it that way.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
cool.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I also want to ask about we've talked a lot about your successes, changes in career trajectory. We also like to dig into a failure. So, if you have an example of a situation where you felt like this was a big fuck up and what happened and what was the impact or ripple effect of that? What decisions did you make to like change things in the outcome?
I only have time for one.
That's what everyone says.
Like, where do we begin?
Yeah, so it's probably you never know when somebody's borderline, right? And so an owner is kind
Mhm.
of borderline, and you want to be the one to show them a different path.
Like
And
borderline bought in.
border borderline self-aware enough to learn the lessons that they would need to be as intentional as we're asking them to be.
Okay.
And so um, I would say most business owners are isolated from that level of self-awareness. I think they're self-aware in a lot of ways, but self-aware in the sense of their authenticness. And so I love the ones that are could go either way, and you show them a little bit different way that be do have concept versus what they've been conditioned towards. Don't use those terms when I'm doing implementation, but
Hmm.
that's essentially what I'm trying to get them to see the difference in the quality of their life if they can reframe a few key beliefs that they have that aren't working for them anymore. And so sometimes you take a chance with people in that just it doesn't work out. And so one comes to mind is parent, the father passed away, really great company, and he couldn't get out of his father's shadow. And I was hoping to be able to help him find his way of running this company. And the leadership team was absolutely bought in and wanted him to approach things differently because he was kind of very authoritarian because that's the way his father was, but that
Right.
wasn't really who he was. So he'd mask authoritarianism in this really nice package,
Oh.
and um, could get him to the point where let's let that niceness show and be you.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, he did some damage to the relationships on the leadership team because he showed them a side to him that he couldn't um, activate on, I guess.
Yeah, there's
I
a
felt
lot.
like I let the whole team down. That's why I
Yeah.
think of it as a failure.
Right.
I less than a handful of, family-owned companies in transitions, and typically it's like an uncle to the nephew or the father to the son, and there's so much in that dynamic.
Yeah,
I had one where I'm like, "Look, I'm not a psychologist, but you guys need to go see one."
right,
Like, 'cause this ain't
right,
working.
right,
There's nothing. This is tough, right? And there was just so much of that dynamic, and they hadn't passed because I can only imagine how much harder that is when
right,
the person's passed.
right.
Well, it's so interesting you bring that up because we were talking earlier about the concept of like the team that needs to come around to like help coach and like whatever scenario it is. Like, take the Colby consultant example of somebody coming in and doing that for the business is different from the EOS implementer, is different from the that's going to like help them kind of break through from the personal level. So
Yeah.
your connector aspect definitely comes back into play there too.
Yeah,
Like, who can really jump in and help in that scenario?
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Because we can't do that. I mean,
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't give business advice.
Yeah.
Should not do
Yeah.
Correct.
that.
Should not do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the worst thing for I don't want to speak for every implementer, but I hate making a connecting relationship to one of my clients, and they overstate their value and the
Mm.
purpose of their being there, and they start to confuse the client and they introduce new language, and it's almost like they're trying to be the operating system
Right.
within their discipline. And that's part of having a trusted advisor network is early in the game. I don't know if they're still teaching this, but it was, if you're asked for a referral, give three names and get yourself out of it. I don't do that at all. I want
I
what's in the
wouldn't.
best interest of
Yeah.
my client,
Right.
and I know these people really, really well. And so,
Because I think it we go back to maybe it's authenticity for me, but that's superlative introduction. How am I doing 3?
yeah,
Why not do 1? And if it doesn't work, ask me for a second and I'll help, right? But,
right.
I think that it just doesn't feel right to.
Well, and that's kind of what these trusted advisors are fighting is this commoditization of, let's get three quotes and it's the clerk that's compiling the data and the leadership team is at best looking at, the bottom line number and they can't qualitatively tell the difference. And so the only decision they have is who's the cheapest. And that trusted advisor never gets a chance to show their value proposition.
Right.
Right.
So we solve for that.
Well, I have one final question for you about really what you're reading, watching, or learning. Like, what are you looking at to help you grow and learn personally or professionally?
Probably not all of it's traditional. So I'm re-listening to Letting Go. And so I'm a big fan of Michael Singer, so I'm constantly diving into his work. I'm rereading Atomic Habits. Um, and
Did you
yeah,
see him speak last year?
I did not.
He was at the EOS conference. It was
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an amazing concept. I mean, and it is the be do have process,
Right.
Right.
To go test at 1% of what improvements you
Mhm.
can make and express yourself a little differently and
Right.
find new creative outlets for it. And so, yeah, I mean, it's brilliant work. Where I get a little bit cross paths is when people are interpreting it as will, like shoulda, woulda, coulda. I need to do this. I'm grinding. If you're interpreting the book that way, which I think I did when I first read it,
Yeah.
now I'm going back and I'm able to pick up that nuance of this isn't that. This is really more
Somebody,
dialing it in.
person was at the conference that I was talking to about the presentation on Atomic Habits. They're like, it's just way too simple. And I'm like, I think he sold 8 million books. So I don't know.
Simple
I
works.
appreciate your
Simple
opinion,
works.
but I think 8 million is probably good enough for whatever.
Right. Yeah,
That's good work.
simple works, as Gino has proven.
They've proven.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being
Absolutely.
here.
It's a pleasure. Thank
Yeah,
you.
if people want to get in contact with you, learn more about ETAN, any of those things, how should they reach out?
So ETAN is 10x Connect, spelled out TEN, xconnect.com. And yeah, I'd love to have a conversation with anybody if I can help them. And then if you're looking for an implementer, it's david.bowman at eosworldwide.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you
Uh,
so much again.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Appreciate
Thanks
you
for
both.
All
Yeah.
right. What I love about David's story is that client impact and hearing you gave me my life back. And hearing that, it resonates so well with, I think, what a lot of entrepreneurs experience. That's the thing about this work. The systems impact of EOS, that's pretty immediate and it shows up quickly and you can tangibly see it. But the human impact, that's the part that really stays and that's really meaningful. And it shows up in the leadership team that can finally trust each other and go into those quarterly meetings and talk about the real things, or even in your level 10 meetings. And it shows up as the person that stops grinding and can actually start living their life. So I hope you got something from this episode. Thank you for listening. And if it did resonate, please like, subscribe, share it with a friend, and we'll see you next time.